Hi, this is Greg Hildebrandt. I've been a professional artist for 62 years. I've done a lot of artwork in that time, and I'm still just trying to get it right.
Hello, Greg. How are you, sir?
Keith, nice to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. We are back after a week off. So you've got your second COVID shot.
Absolutely fantastic. I had absolutely no reaction. Gene had a little bit of one, but
That's good to
it
hear.
was incredible. So we're happy. So by next Wednesday is when what? It will be pretty much safe to go out and do the normal thing of wearing a mask and keeping distance and everything. But still, maybe we'll be able to get out a little more. You know?
Fantastic. So
Yeah,
I'm still waiting in line for mine, but yeah,
yeah,
fantastic. I'm glad you guys finally got them
yeah.
and that you're all taken care of. So
Incredible.
I have to first apologize to everybody that's already uh, jumping in online here. I I thought you were going to be starting this painting today. And then I found out that you had already put in a little bit of time and
Yeah.
and got in that much. So my apologies to everybody. You don't get to see Greg start today. However, you did indicate that next Thursday, when you're doing Godzilla, is that what you're doing
Yeah, I
next?
believe I'll be starting Godzilla next Thursday. Even though I may not be done with this one, but I still will start that one. And that one I'll
So
start
you
from scratch.
okay, fantastic. All right. So what are you working on today, sir?
This is a painting of Lady Death, which, goes up a little higher. She's kind of like standing here, holding a skull in her hand. Here, you see, here. And she's carrying her holding her scythe. And she's on a rocky landscape with all these skeletons laying around. This is a private commission for a gentleman
Okay.
who has commissioned several Lady Deaths from really terrific artists. So and and he more or less he had some of his ideas, and then we talked about it, and I told him my ideas more. And he said go with it. I'm with it. Which I saw her. She's been in a couple of modes, right? Initially, her initial creation was me in the Middle Ages, Sweden, and
Okay.
and then they updated her in a whole new take. And he liked the original costume, and I like that original time frame also because it's much more, the Black Death. I mean, that whole period, and
Yeah.
so that's the kind of like feeling I wanted to give to this is that doom, death, and destruction kind of like thing, given that's her character.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun to paint, right?
It's a hell of a lot of fun to paint, especially in this kind of environment. If you put her, oops, I'm banging around here. If you get all this billowing fire, and I'm going to detail all this. There'll be fire springing up all around the back here, so she'll be all rim lit from all the fires. All this gold. Her white hair will be backlit by the fire. So she'll be rim lit. She'll be totally outlined by the glow from the fire. And then I put death up in the sky here, sort of like being formed by the clouds. I mean, I
Okay.
just
Cool.
blocked it. This is only 2 days worth of work so far, and then there'll be all these skeletons, skulls, and everything all scattered all around. But
Very cool.
it's fun. I mean, the subject is very visual, and I enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah.
So
We
it's like
get
I say when I say rimlet, you'll get all this kind of edge lighting, and her hair will be all lit up from the back, and then she'll be all lit up like this, around the edges,
yep.
and then she'll be all lit with a diffused overhead bluish light, like all the rocks and all the foreground is. So you get her white, and she's got the white skin and the white hair, so that'll show up, I think, really kind of cool under that bluish light. You know,
Okay. Nice.
to
So
me, I mean,
what
yeah,
go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, it's like when you're coming up with a picture, like the commission is boom, boom, right off the bat. I'm excited by it. Yeah, I never painted this character, and you instantly get into what's the composition, what's the setup, what's she doing, what's happening, and I do a bunch of doodles, a bunch of sketches, different things until I got to this, and you then position everything within the picture plane key position for her and start to think in terms of, my first thought was when I first started this was all going to be at nighttime, strictly at night with a dark sky. And then I thought much better to have the daylight so that all the dark black clouds and fire can contrast with that and also provide me the logic of the overhead blue light. Because I always think in realistic lighting setups, you know, I
Yeah.
think where's the light coming from? I have to understand all that before I can even start to even think about painting it. Where's the light? What's the source of the light? What color is the light? You know?
Okay. Got a bunch of people chiming in, telling you hello already, and it's looking good.
Thank you.
Got a bunch of different people chiming in. If anybody has any questions for Greg, feel free to write them in. I'll read them off to Greg, and we'll answer them as best we can.
The
So,
Keith,
what part are you going to be working on today?
I think I'm gonna putz around over here with the skull and some ground and fire and stuff. You know, some of this stuff all in here. You know.
Okay. And then, so how are you going to be handling that? Like, what are you going to be doing with it?
Well, let me see. Come on. Well, painting. I mean, here, I've mixed up.
I know you're painting. I meant like with in regards to what you were just talking about with like the diffuse lighting and
Yeah.
and all of that kind of stuff. Do you have your colors and all that stuff mapped out? Or are you still blocking in the
Oh no,
skulls themselves? What's going on down there?
Yeah, I figure out all the colors ahead of time. Like I said, in order to arrive at the shadow color of the blue of all the objects in the foreground, Lady Death, the buildings, the skeletons, the rocks, I have to determine what color is that blue, and I have to go through a whole series of value mixes on my palette to arrive at the right color, and I do that. And you have to think in terms of the edge light from all the fire, which is the fire exact color of fire. That's all the same colors used in all the foreground here. And then you have to think of what the value difference between the rock and the skull. This is bone is obviously much lighter than rock, well, not that much lighter, depending on what kind of rock you want. You know what I'm saying? I have to grasp all that stuff. The skull is probably 3 or 4 values lighter than the rock, so I have to mix up a series of values that conform to that contrast in the shadows. You understand? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It all has to. I don't know if I'm being clear. I think I'm being murky. But it's going here. Here, the idea is this. In this particular instance, where the blue light's coming down from the top, light moves 2 ways. Well, if there's a blue light or a cool light on a subject, there's a warm shadow. If there's a warm light on a subject, there's a cool shadow. So all this stuff is obviously the cool of the warm of the hot fire, but still here in the foreground, with the cool light coming down on the rocks and the skulls and the character, there's an underside, a shadow side to that blue underneath the skull going down, here, underneath the rocks. It'll be underneath her legs. The tops will be all whitish blue, but it goes into a shadow. So what happens with that blue light coming down on the figure, on the rocks, on the skulls, is the shadow color goes warmer and darker. You see what I'm saying? Is that?
Yes.
I know it's a lot of warm, cool to warm.
Yeah.
Cool to warm. This will be.
And you're dealing with the bounce light, right?
Right. You're dealing with the underside of the lighting.
Yeah.
Like here. Here it's on the. Wait a minute. I can't get my arm right. Well, here you can see the light here and then the shadow side. Well, this light is warm. There's a light over there that's a warm light. The shadow side you can see is cooler. So it might not readily look cooler. It looks darker, but just accept the fact and understand that it's cooler. It's a. I think we've talked about this before. I don't even. It's not only what your eyes know. It's what your logic knows. Your brain knows. Because you might look at something with your eyes and say, well, that doesn't look cooler. It just looks darker. Accept the fact, well, what color is the light? Well, the light's sort of a warmish incandescent light. Well, then the shadow's cooler, period, in the story. Don't dwell on it. Don't analyze. Now you got to figure out, how cool and what color of cool. That's a long journey of it's I could explain it, but we're not going to give an art lesson right now. It's logical. It's
Yeah.
strictly logical and scientific. You know, it's
Now,
not got anything to do with
now,
feeling or you know.
yes. I get a question for you, just in
Yeah,
terms of this particular composition, because you do have that overhead daytime uh, sky that's breaking through in the background.
yeah,
With her on in the foreground, uh, will
yeah.
your primary light source on her remain the fire, or will it be from, say, maybe there's another open spot of the sky over here that's coming in and hitting her with daylight? What are you going for on
Well,
this?
it's going to be the blue. I'm my thinking at this particular point. It's all going to be the blue. See the sky here, here. As you move,
Yep.
this blue sky, I went from a blue green, phthalo blue with white
Yep.
and raw sienna in it to give it that yellower, browner feeling near the horizon. It doesn't readily appear here. And then I start to go up higher and I start to go into ultramarine blue with a lot of white in it. If you carry it on over the top of this whole scene, now you imagine there's a
The
you're
dome,
inside
the
of a
globe light.
dome. You're
Yep.
under a dome of light blue and clouds, whitish clouds and light blue. It's a big dome.
Hmm.
If you turn the sun off and still kept light, you would have this blue dome over you. You see?
Okay.
Now imagine that the sun is a big spotlight that you now click on. Boom! That gives you their warmish white light. So you're dealing with this blue dome, which is a diffused light settling down on top of everything. That's the main light source on her with the fiery edge light.
Gotcha.
There won't be any
Understood.
sunlight at all hitting her. The sun is basically out here behind this cloud. It's about this position, lighting these clouds up. So the sun is blocked behind this cloud. So there's no sunlight that you see at all, except here in these clouds.
Yeah.
You see?
Okay.
At least that's what I'm hoping for, that it works. And you don't know, and that's the thrill of it, because you just jump
Yes.
into it and see. Well, I don't know, man. This might not turn out. I'm going to give it a shot and see what the hell happens.
Okay. We get Chris Fabs asking a question. Do you ever struggle with procrastination or artist block?
Not lately. I'm too old for that shit. I don't have enough time to be screwing around with the artist block. Get the fuck out
Yeah.
of here.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah. Hey, look, I get it. No, it's about gathering all the information. I've been at this, like, I'm 82. I've been at this since when? 1958, professionally, and since five when I was a kid. I've been doing art. So you gather a whole bunch of information. So I don't know, artist block meaning you can't figure out you know what I mean? Figuring out what is what do you stymied by it? You'd have to tell me what's the block that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Is it some personal problem you're having? Is it emotional? What is it?
Yeah. With your level of productiveness, the amount of work that you've churned out over the years, yeah, I'm going to say that that's typically not a problem that you've ever encountered.
Well, and especially now with Jean, if I was to tell her that Jean, I'm having artist block, I can't do this.
Oh
Remember
no,
Patton?
oh man,
Remember
he's got
in
girl
Patton?
problems. That's what
She'd
he's
be
saying.
Pat. She's Patton. She comes up to me. All these brave men out there dying, and you're getting get there. That's Jean. You see, she'd quickly slap me out of it.
Yes. Uh, yeah, Chris, I'm going to answer on behalf of Greg. You got to, if they're just girl problems, I'm going to go so far as to say they're not serious girl problems. Like there's not a female in your life that's terminally
I
ill or anything
that's
like that. That's not a girl problem. Uh, so at this point, it's about being I don't know where you're at on the scale, Chris. Uh, and correct me if you disagree with this statement, but at some point you just have to be a professional. And like you said a couple of weeks ago, you leave your boots at the door
That's it.
and you come in and you get the job done.
That's it right there. I learned that, or like I said, I think a couple of weeks ago we talked about it when I first started in Detroit in the Jam Handy organization in the animation department. And I came in with some personal thing that I was going through, and the guy said, "Leave your shoes at the door. This is a workspace."
So, so just learning how to compartmentalize
Yeah,
and say, this is this, this is this.
exactly. That's the struggle. That's the effort. That's what you really got to do to produce. And being a professional is at least in part that control. Being able to control all that stuff.
So a guy named Elijah
Wait a minute.
Whippo, he said,
Something says, Gene, there's something in the middle of the screen here that's coming up that says "remind me later" or "uninstall" or some damn thing. That's my see. This is my technological level.
yeah, okay, yeah, we don't see that on our end.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
Elijah is saying that sometimes he struggles with
Wait a
keeping
minute.
the
The whole picture went
contrast.
off. Wait a minute. Something is
Wait a
going.
minute.
Wait. Like
Just wait a second.
we're having.
Go ahead.
Okay, there
All
we
right.
go.
So Elijah's saying, go ahead.
Okay, that sometimes he struggles with keeping the contrast in the colors because. Okay, I sometimes struggle with keeping that contrast, as sometimes all colors appear warm or cool, depending on the surrounding colors.
Okay.
Okay, so if Elijah,
I'm
can
not sure
you
what to say to that.
can you elaborate a little bit more on
Well,
what you're
everything.
talking about? We moved a little bit away from that part of the conversation. But Elijah, if you're still watching and you want to elaborate just a little bit more, Greg might be able to.
Yeah, it's not clear to me. Like, right. I think
able to help you out.
partially what you're saying is it's all context. A warm color in a cool setting, depending on how cool it is and how warm it is, they won't. Yeah, it's all context. But there's a little.
I think.
I think it's a little abstract,
Okay,
right?
so I think what might maybe, and again, Elijah, if you're watching and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. So I think if he's saying like, okay, you have a skull sitting on a rock, right? And
Yeah.
you've got the warm light coming down, lighting up the skull, which would go into the cool shadow. But the rock that the skull is setting on is also a warm color. And so the bounce light from the warm colored rock might affect into the cool shadow.
Yeah, absolutely. All that kind
And
of
then
stuff.
so
Yeah,
again,
that's
okay, Elijah's still watching. So Elijah, if I did not capture the essence of what you were talking about there, please let us know. So what would you do then to help keep that contrast between those elements? If you're working on with a warm lighting, but also a warm bounce light coming into your cool shadow.
just make sure that they're two different colors. The warm light hitting, and the bounce light are two separate colors. I think. I mean,
Okay.
this is. I have to see the picture that he's working on. You know what I mean? It's too abstract.
And you
You
can
know what I
also
mean?
probably adjust it with the value, I would say, right? Like
Yeah.
that some of that warm would bounce up into the cool shadow, but you really got to mute down the value of it.
Yeah. I'm sorry that I'm not.
No, that's fine. He's because that he chimed back in with that we did get the concept.
Oh, okay.
and so thank you, Elijah, for chiming back in. What artists have influenced your styles?
Oh, jeez. Fuck. I mean, there's zillions of them. I mean, it's like I have to go back in my mind chronologically to see who's the first. It would be that I'm aware of seeing and liking. My parents had a lot of books. They had the N.C. Wyeth books, Treasure Island, Robin Hood, King Arthur, all those books, and they also had the Burroughs books illustrated by J. Allen St. John, and I remember seeing that stuff as very early, and that hit me. But then it's the comic strips.
Comic strips, Disney,
Yeah, well,
early Disney animated films.
Pinocchio, when I saw it at 5, it was re-released 7 years after its initial release, and that's when we saw it in the theater, and I went crazy. Tim and I, we didn't know what the hell it was. We knew it was drawings and animation, but you're a little kid, and that became totally obsessive and compulsive to animate. That was basically that was my first big artistic love was animation. That and sequential art, comic books. So it was that would be really early influence, and then those painters and illustrators I mentioned, and then but I mean we lived in Detroit, and our parents would take us to the Detroit Institute of Arts, which is one of the best museums in the country. It's got a Egyptian collection and a medieval collection and oh my God, all kinds of, and the Diego Rivera mural. We've talked about this before, which knocked me on my ass. And I'm not talking about anything about political. I'm talking about the power of this multiple image thing. It just knocked me out. Then it's the movies, Technicolor film back in the day. I think that's what influenced a lot of our lighting. Tim and me, my brother and myself, was going and seeing that blue light coming from the outside, the way they light a setup for a Technicolor film, and the warm firelight inside, say like in Robin Hood or something. You get that really fantastic contrast, warm and cool. That was a big thing. So I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah, and I think maybe a greater point or a greater lesson is that you're not necessarily zeroing in on one person's work to influence a style,
Not at
but
all.
you are a collector of visual information.
Exactly.
From
There you
a
go.
multitude of sources that allow you to inform your own decision making, which then ultimately will result in an individual style.
There you go. That's perfectly put, Keith. And you're absolutely, that's it right there. Granted, in terms of style, that used to be the thing when I was younger. I think, back in the day in the 50s, when I was starting professionally in 1958 at 18, the obsession was style. When you're a young guy, I think you're always thinking of style. Who's the latest, the hottest. Because we used to get the Society of Illustrators annual, and all the guys at Jam Handies in the animation department, especially the younger guys that were like Tim and me, would pour through it and be whoa, whoa. And then at that era in the 50s, Bernie Fuchs was it. Bernie Fuchs and Bob Peak, and those are two guys that Tim and I. Well, we have been through many, influences from our childhood through all the comics and EC comics in particular, Wally Wood and Frank Rosetta and Al Williamson and my God, all that stuff. And then with Fuchs, his painterly underpainting and his very realistic drawing, but that impressionistic, expressionistic style that he mixed with it became an obsession, and I tried to emulate that for a while. And so and then I used to look at, then you'd see Japanese prints and beauty and the simplicity, the flatness of a lot of the illustrators in the 50s, who names Al Parker and people like that in the women's magazines. My mother had, get the Ladies' Home Journal, fantastic illustrations. I mean, mundane subjects, everyday subjects, just couples, in rooms, but the way they composed, they were all the flatness of them, but the realistic drawing and the juxtapositions, the compositions of light against dark and dark against light, that stuff influenced me. So I jumped into that for a while, and then we were animating, and I went for the old style. Even though I did jump to the new style of UPA, but Tim and I went to a very classic 3D-dimensional rounded animation, which we did a lot of. And so the style, there was always grasping and looking and being hit by this style, that style, and you try to emulate this stuff, or it would seep in somehow, and then you move on to the next thing. As you get older and older and older, all that stuff merges, and that's what forms a style. But I mean, you don't arrive at it by an intellectual decision in the moment. This is my style. At least I didn't. I mean, maybe people do. I don't know. You know, it's just an accumulation of a whole bunch of stuff. You know.
It's it's that collection of visual information, and it is, I think, particularly easy for younger people to, you gravitate towards something you like. A lot of people that are into comics, you'll gravitate towards the artist that you like, and you
Yep.
start emulating their styles. Uh,
Yeah.
and
And
I
I
mean,
totally
again,
get
I
that.
think everybody does that to a degree,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
you've got to be willing to step outside that box and ingest and explore and experiment, or you run the risk of ultimately outdating yourself. You know, because
Yeah, it
style, commercial styles continually evolve,
totally true.
um, and I mean, it, it's a and it's increasing, ever more rapidly with technology, just
Oh my
like
God.
everything else. And
Yeah.
if you're, you know, so it's just consume as much visual information as you can and interpret it through your own um, brain
Right. So I
rather
mean,
than trying to emulate.
yeah,
Does
with all that
that makes sense?
stuff and all that accumulation, for me personally, and then it was like I got to a point where I said, no style. I mean, it's out of my head. I'm not. I'm anti-style. It's like I think it.
That's like, well, that's the way I dress.
What's? Yeah,
That's
exactly.
anti-style is the way I dress.
Right. Screw style. Don't just freaking paint. God damn it. Don't think about it.
Don't think about it.
Just start. I mean, I've always been into the representational and that whole thing that warm light, cool shadow, cool light, warm shadow, and composition, classical composition, like the whole Greek thing and everything. I've always been into that. I never abandoned that.
Yeah.
And so that's always there. But it's I guess technique becomes how you apply the paint. Again, what to leave in, what to leave out. The good old Bob Seger lyric,
Yeah.
run it against the wind. But it's like, and it's still that. What do you leave in? What do you leave out? That's kind of a. But then I got to a point where really big time is when I did the classics. I think the Lord of the Rings. Tim and I just thought, the hell with it. Let's just paint a picture. We got N.C. Wyeth in our mind, and it's I was on the show. We got Gustav Tenggren, great children's book illustrator and designer for Disney. We did Pinocchio and Snow White. We loved all that. That's always in our heads. And you're trying to you're trying to eliminate all that. You know what I mean? It's like get rid of all that. Something's going to show up. I mean, because it's what you've loved, and you are what you eat, sort of like my thing. You know what I mean? What you've accumulated all your life. So you better start looking at good shit early on.
Yeah.
Because you're eventually that's what you're going to be. In certain people, they throw that all away, say to hell with it. But I didn't. I just kept accumulating. But I did get to a point where I finally just said no style, I'm anti-style. I'm just going to paint a damn picture. That's it. However it turns out, it turns out. Good, bad, or different. If people like it, fine. If not, well, all right. So that's the way it goes.
Be it. All right. We got. I got to read you this comment because it's great from Dean 13. Says you don't need me telling you this, but that looks effing awesome. It's like Lady Death just kicked Death Dealer off his rock and took his place.
Oh, Jesus. That's like the ultimate compliment. Holy shit. The Death Dealer, man. I mean, that's a little picture. It's only this big. I saw that for years. You're imagining that. And I remember when we were at the museum, Frank Frazetta's museum, years and years, when they had it in Strasbourg when Frank was still alive, because we knew Frank. We got to be friends. That it kind of freaks you out when you see it because it's so small.
Yes, it's one of those things that's kind of like when you watch movies and you get an idea that an actor is much taller than what they
Right.
are, and then you see it in real life and you're like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
Now, I mean,
It's that stuff.
the impact of that piece is still there, but
Oh,
when
yeah.
you go in and you see he has much larger paintings, and then
Yeah.
oh, I thought it would be bigger.
Yeah.
But
No, it still is
You know,
kick ass, man. But it's like one of the ultimates. So simple too. Jesus. Then when he gets so broad and painterly, and then he gets very tight with the mail and everything. I love that
yeah.
kind of combination that
Yeah.
he did.
No, it's he was asking if it's like 5'6". No, that painting's, I can't remember, but maybe about 15 by 20, maybe,
Yeah, it's a
maybe a little
small
bit bigger.
picture. Yeah, it's a small
Yeah.
picture.
You know,
Interesting.
and then Chris Fab chimes in with, yeah, you heard somewhere style is everything you do wrong. Yes, that's I heard that first from Joe Kubert.
Oh, really?
And
Yeah.
Joe Kubert would say that style is just a series of mistakes that
That
you
you get
make
known for.
consistently. Yeah,
That you get known for. That's
yeah.
great. I never heard that, man.
So,
That's basically it. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Look at, I mean, every damn picture I do, I'm still trying to figure it out. It's like the opening of this thing. That line, still got to get it right. It's not BS. I always feel that way every time I approach a painting or drawing. It's like, it's not like, grant, I mean, it's a weird two-edged sword kind of like mentality. You've got, intellectually, you've got this whole bag of stuff that you've accumulated over the years. But still, when you approach something for the, brand new, it's brand new. Yeah, you're bringing to it a whole bunch of information that you have, but you're still dealing with the same uncertainty in a way that you did when you were a kid.
yeah. Well, even approaching a painting, it's a weird check and balance with the ego, right? You have to have enough ego to believe that you can accomplish what you want to accomplish,
Yeah.
but you have to have enough check in your ego to not necessarily not approach with trepidation, but to realize that you're still capable of really screwing it up.
Oh God, yes.
And you gotta put focus and energy into it, because if you be, no matter how many paintings you've done or how many things you've drawn, when you get lazy about it, uh,
Oh, forget
it's
it.
ultimately going to reflect in the work.
Oh, absolutely, it will. Yep.
And then Dean, sorry, go ahead, Greg.
No, that's all right.
Dean says, "Thank you, Greg. It's a pleasure and a learning experience."
Great. I'm glad. That's what it's about, learning. I hope I learned something by the time I'm done with this picture too.
So, what are you brushing in, man?
Fire. I want this fire here under her leg. I didn't have it there. I wasn't going to put it there, and I'm just stood back looking at it, and you block it in real fast. Then I'll gradually get down with a smaller brush and do the shape of the flames and everything.
Okay.
Which is always a
Now,
design issue. Smoke and fire, like everything, is a design issue. It's all the design. The hair is going to be, but here, this lighting here will give me the light here. She wears these long black, shiny, what the hell ever they are, boots.
okay.
So I can get a nice. I start with the darker red. I'll get. You get that'll create a rim light here.
And for that rim light, you wanted that rim light, and that's specifically why you made the decision to move the flame into that area as
Yep,
well.
exactly. Yeah, when I designed the painting, I basically, well, here. Here's the layout. I cut the bottom off. You see that?
Yep.
That's it right there. And then how do you position all these fires and detail these buildings and change them and alter them? I do that as I start to paint, The composition never changes though. The positioning of that figure and is critical. Boom, that's it. All the other little detail stuff you can move around and play with.
And just for people that might not be familiar with the process you're using, you again, you painted the whole canvas black, right?
Yep.
And then you unrolled your sketch down from the top.
Yep.
Uh, why do you keep your sketch there?
Just in case. Well, in case I wanted to retransfer it. If she gets painted over as I move into the edges of her and all kinds of stuff, I can flop that thing down again, put my transfer paper underneath, and retrace it with a ballpoint pen and get the line retransferred. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
You're using a white-based transfer paper,
right.
correct?
Yep. So can you see
And
these
then
lines?
you just go over the sketch with the ballpoint pen, and it transfers the
Right.
white line right
Right.
onto the black canvas.
Right. And then I started to paint this first, the sky, then painted this fire line, and then put these clouds all in, blocked his head in the sky, and then paint the buildings. Now moving to the foreground. Her I won't get till, over the weekend. I'm gonna do all this all around her, establishing the whole damn thing. But you can see, this is cool. I love this. I love. We talked about this before. I mean, especially in this kind of imagery, rim lighting is fantastic. Maybe it's a crutch. I don't know, but I like the way it looks. You can just, in this you can build up as bright as you want it. But I won't get. There'll only be slightly. There'll be only highlights on shiny objects on her costume here and everything that get as near light as the fire. You get me? Mainly it'll stay, somewhat darker.
Now, I don't think that you've ever addressed this on the podcast. So I'm going to ask the question to get your answer. What you were just alluding to, that you almost get to the brightest part of the fire, but it all stays a little bit darker.
Right.
When you're working on an image, will you ever go brighter than the light source that appears on the canvas?
No way, because that's what gives you the illusion of light. So you're dealing with illusion here. People say, well, it looks like it's lit. I mean, I've had that commentary for years. People, it looks like it's lit. Paul O'Neill, the director of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, had done tons of paintings for him, and he always felt my paintings looked lit, which he loved because his show was about light, And but if you paint anything in here that's brighter than that source of light, you'll destroy the illusion of light. Because if you stand there and anybody watching, just look at a light bulb and then in your room, and then look at everything else around it. Even a white surface, there's a whitish warm light over there. This white light, it looks white on that screen, but it's not white. It's darker than the white light source. So that's what gives you that illusion.
Yeah, that's a very, very crucial
critical
bit of information there for people.
People have painted right in the past, the long past. Now people digitally, you look at stuff. I mean, there's the sense of lighting is overwhelming. It's great, but I remember people paint dragon breath, fire, and then the lighting on the figures would be white, while the dragon's breath was fire was yellow. Impossible. It just didn't. That's what doesn't give. That's what gives you the feeling that it doesn't look real, or it doesn't. Something's wrong here.
Yeah. Even if it's subliminally.
Yeah.
Something's not reading right, and it's the one thing that with you keeping consistent in your light source to the colors and that color affecting everything in the composition, that also helps tie the composition itself together.
Totally. Yes.
Right. It keeps that color harmony going throughout the entire image.
Right. And again, like I use dioxazine purple on these paintings. That's what the background is. I paint a white canvas. I painted Mars black first, one layer. Mars black is like a nice ink. That's the best, most opaque black that in acrylic. And I'll put a layer of that on the canvas, making sure that it's not thick but very thin. And then I'll go over that with 2 coats of dioxazine purple. That's what this is.
So you coat, I just make sure that I have that correct. You do the entire canvas in that Mars black, flat Mars black,
Yep.
and then you recoat it with the
Oxidine
dioxazine
purple.
purple.
Yeah, with a
So
big house.
why not go straight to the purple?
You got to put more layers on the white to do it with purple, because the Mars black is much more of an opaque color. You can put it on very thin. It's like ink almost. Mars black is almost like ink, as opposed to ivory black, which is translucent. You know, is you got to just
Yeah.
put more layers on, so it's just quicker. You put a layer of the more opaque Mars black, boom, it just about covers the whole thing, solid in one coat, and then you put the purple on over that. So it
Gotcha.
saves
Okay.
paint, literally. It just saves many coats of paint. It's a quicker way to do it.
Quicker way to do it. Fair enough. Thank you. Um, the light source, Alexander's asking the light source on the bent knee. You may have missed part of it. He's putting in through the fire,
Yeah.
right? And then so it's coming around on the other side.
There'll be
That will be
this will get brighter over here, and then there's a light off camera here, way off to the side. You can imagine anything you want off camera, and it's hitting here, off camera, because I always think in terms of photography. You can just lights, if you want to position a light off here to get more edge light on the skull here. You know what I'm saying? You can just do that
Yep.
in your mind. Where do you position? You don't want it frontal, because it'll light things up frontally. It always has to be back, edge lighting, in this particular setup.
Yep.
But here, here, and then this will be here. This color that I'm putting on right now is simple. It's cadmium red medium, and then it goes to, that's cadmium red medium here. Cadmium red medium with deep magenta mixed into it, just bringing
Okay.
the value down, and then so it makes a big pile of, well, it starts at the cadmium yellow light at the core, which will build up to tiny little areas of white, straight white, titanium white, which will really increase the hot illusion. And then cadmium yellow light, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium orange, cadmium red light, cadmium red medium with cadmium red medium with deep magenta in it, and then that mixture, cadmium red medium, magenta, you add purple, dioxazine purple, and then into these blue highlight areas, it's the blue sky that goes into that deepest color that I just said.
Mm-hmm.
Bada boom.
And all of that. Now, do you typically have a set number of values, of color values, that you go between your lights and shadows?
Yeah. Here's the red background. This is how I mix on a sheet of aluminum foil. See how it stays there? That's cadmium red light. That's cadmium red medium. That's cadmium orange. That's cadmium, I should say cadmium yellow light, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium orange, cadmium red light, cadmium red medium with magenta in it, magenta with purple in it. All on one palette. So I mix all the colors. I don't try to come up with colors here. It's like I'm trying to get those colors off that palette up here in the right order.
And
Let's see.
if I counted, is that 7 colors on your palette?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let me see. Yeah, well, including white. There's white at the top. Count white. 1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's generally the amount of values. I love the work that people do where they'll paint a figure with 5 million colors in it, in the figure, in the skin and the shadow. But it's incredible. I'm kind of like simplistic in that I kind of go for a more Alex Toth, simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. Kind of like approach. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In
Yep.
mixing color. I think that came out of not necessarily a philosophical stand or artistic stand even. It became a way, how, when my brother and I worked together, that how we could mix up a palette and understand it together, and then him take it home in one of these airtight containers that we evolved, that we finally started to use, and use it. So we had to keep it stripped down. You couldn't like add all kinds of millions of things to it because he was going to take it home and work with it, or I'd take it home and work with it. You get what you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
So it was born out of practicality.
absolutely, the same as style is born out of mistakes,
Yes. Okay.
right?
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes.
So, you know, to make it to where the two of you could do it. All right.
Yep.
Now, do you ever go with fewer color steps
Yeah. Yeah.
in your values?
Yes.
Okay.
White. Like these white clouds have far fewer colors. Let me see where the hell they are. I got them somewhere here. Okay. Yeah. Here's the clouds, not the sky. The clouds. Yes, I don't know if you can see that. This is white and raw sienna pile. You move that half of that pile here. Squeeze dioxazine purple into it. See? Move half that pile here, and put ultramarine blue into it. So there's 1, 2, 3 values. And then if you want to build up to the final whiter highlight, that's 4 values. That's white and cadmium yellow medium. Almost white though.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 4 values, but that's color white in this, you know.
4 values for the color white.
Yes, 4 values for the color white. And if somebody was asked, if I was to say to them, what color do you think these clouds are? They would say, generally speaking, oh, those are white clouds. Well, no.
Yeah.
You know, but the illusion is that they're white. I guess maybe part of that conversation before that one of the questioners was asking, it's about context. You know, this would look not white in another context if used on another subject that you were painting in a different lighting setup. This would not look white. But in context of this picture, the illusion is that it's white.
Yeah. Yeah. White billowy clouds with that
Right.
undershadow.
Blue sky. Undershadow. Yep. So it's all trickery and deceit. No, it's not.
Bartley says, lovely work and super informative. Thank you. And Adrian Wagner says, you know, like she tells her painter friends now, it's just a complicated paint by numbers. LOL.
My numbers, though.
Yes. Yeah, you assign your numbers.
Yeah, I've created the numbers, which no one else can understand.
It's a mystery.
So, anyway, whatever. Keep it's all. And see, of course, I got a skull here that I'm using for my reference. Actually,
now, how much?
Yeah.
In this scenario, Greg, where you have the diffuse blue light, firelight coming in, how much does the local color of the skull come into play? And what I mean by local color for everyone, if they don't know what I'm talking about, is just the natural color of the skull.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that come into play?
So, like, someone's instinct, you know, that skull is sitting there on the ground.
Yeah.
It would be very typical to see people go in and just paint the color of a skull, right?
Uh-huh.
You know, that the off-white yellowy color. Now, we know that you're lighting it up obviously with the flame. We could see that, and you're going to hit it with that diffuse blue light as you've told us. Now, do you implement the natural color of a skull in at any point?
Not there won't be any
image?
No, when I mixed the colors up, I did. When I mixed these colors up, this is the color for the skull right here that I'm using. Believe it or not. This pile of stuff, here's the main color right here. that it comes to. But this started, see the raw sienna?
Yep.
That's an earth color. That's one of the siennas. That's raw sienna. It's a yellowy, brown color. Well, that starts off up here. I mixed a pile of that with white in it. That's the color of the skull in a white light that I'm calling.
Okay.
In this lighting setup, if I was to paint that skull in that light from which is lighting up the sky in the sunlight, that light was shining on this skull right here. It's white with raw sienna in it. You understand?
Yep.
So, but now you'll never see it in its true color of the sunlight. You're only going to see it in the firelight and in the blue light from the sky. There won't be any naturalistic color because it would mean it would have to be overexposed. It would be like bright sitting there if I was to move towards the actual color of the skull.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
You're not seeing it in a literal sense. However, it goes into the color mixture, so it is affecting the color.
Yeah. Well,
that you're
right. I mixed the series of colors for all this stuff goes from this true color of the object into purple, put into it, the dioxazine purple, which is the universal color over this whole picture and many of these kinds of pictures that I paint. The dioxazine purple goes into the white and raw sienna combination, and then I take that pile, put it here, and I squeeze the ultramarine blue, which is again the sky color coming down, and then for the shadow side of the cool, which goes underneath here, underneath the skull, it goes warmer again. So, and that goes to burnt umber and purple mixed into this color. But that color right there, believe it or not, has got all the color of the true color of the skull in it. Because I start up here and I mix that color. I mix colors into that color.
Yeah.
Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It's clear for me. If anybody is not clear on what he just explained with the local color and how it affects the ultimate paint mixture, just chime in and let us know.
Just say, what
Someone's
the hell
asking,
are you talking about?
what's going to be on the ground behind her? Is it someone's at, okay, is the background, is it snow around her? Is it fire and snow, or what's going to go
We're here?
back? Just I guess the background in general.
No. It's all snow. No snow. I don't know where the snow comes from.
Ground, right?
It's the earth. It's
like,
ground. It's rocks. It's just
Yeah,
stones
okay.
and rocks and stuff. That's all.
That hasn't, yeah, that's just not fully painted in.
No,
Right?
this is all gonna get very textury. Do you know what I mean? It's gonna get. Wait a minute here. It's gonna get lighter. So this. Can you see any of that lighter color?
It's a little. I mean, it's a little tough to see from.
Yeah.
Maybe if somebody's
It's very
watching a
dark.
much larger screen.
It's very dark, but it gets lighter. It builds up to the lighter blue on the top. This, she will get lighter. She'll be the lightest of all because she'll be like blue, not glowing like blue. She'll look like she's lit, hopefully, by the blue sky.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll find out. I'll find out when I get there.
So I'm going to say, I know next week you're starting the Godzilla painting, but if you wouldn't mind, and I'll remind you and remind Gene, it'd be pretty cool if we could check back in to see where this painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be done with it by. Will you be done with it by next Thursday? I'm not sure what your schedule.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
So if we could just check back in, so you could show everybody what the final this is looking like, so that way, hopefully, people can contextualize everything that you've talked about with the diffuse blue light being lit by the fire, going on to the white of her skin.
Yeah.
And when we say white, we mean literally the comic book character is white, not
He is white.
not Caucasian.
Right. White hair.
Yeah.
White and black. She's got the black. What minimal costume she has is all, black and metal stuff. Definitely very heavy metal. Right?
Very heavy metal. Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing this character like back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a lot of fun, like just the wild stuff that the,
Oh yeah. I mean, it's
the
the beauty
guys
of
come up with.
comics, man. This is what a great idiom it is. You just invent the craziest
Yeah.
shit and you make it work.
Yep.
You know?
As long as it's consistent within its own universe, then
Totally. Yeah. It's
you're
fantastic.
all good.
But it's I love it. Come on. Since I was a kid, it used to be right demeaned as degenerate art form or some damn thing. You know?
Yes. Leading our youth down troubled paths.
What's that?
Comics leading our youth down troubled paths.
Yeah, creating juvenile delinquents.
It's when I think of hardcore criminals, now I look back and I say, you know what? They've all must have been comic book readers.
Had to have been.
They surely got into Captain America when they were
Yeah.
a kid, and that's why they turned out the way they did.
Yeah, absolutely they did. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman
Yeah,
fighting
it's
the.
obvious.
Yeah, it's so obvious that they.
That
Everybody
everyone
needs a
who's
scape.
gone
It's all
down the
about
wrong
scape.
path.
It's all about scapegoating, right? If it's not comics, it's movies, it's music, it's something. Something's causing our kids to act this way. It's not the parents doing that; they're screwing up on their job. It's it's those crazy artists over there. They're the ones. They're the ones. Right? I mean, what a cop out. What a
Yeah.
cheap chicken shit cop out. Stand there, God damn it, parents, and admit that is your fault.
That's right.
You're doing. I can speak. I got 3 kids.
Well, you got to take ownership.
Yeah. That's a whole other story.
All right, man. We're coming to the to almost 5 o'clock. All right.
That was fast.
So it was fast. So I'm going to do the particulars on the
Yep.
spiderwebart.com. If you want to keep working while on the live stream,
Okay.
obviously you're more than welcome to do so. But if not, just call Jean over and have her
Right.
have her close you down. But okay, so we're just chiming in on everybody. Hey, if you like what you watched today, if you like what we're doing, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Please tell everyone on your social media channels about us. We're trying to get as much exposure and watch hours as we can. So any help is truly appreciated. If you want to see more of Greg's art, or you can purchase originals, you can request commissions, or you can get prints of his work, go to spiderwebart.com. It's right there on the live stream page in the bottom left-hand corner. You can read it. I forgot it was there. But spiderwebart.com, that's the website. And again, give us a follow on the social medias. We're on Instagram, Facebook, obviously on YouTube. And, thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks for throwing into the comments and the questions. It's great for us to interact and really helps kind of steer on these conversations. So I'm going to sign off because it's getting late in the evening, and as funny as it sounds, yeah, I have to put my chickens to bed. All right.
That's Keith.
So
That's right.
I'll see you later, man. Have a
Hey.
good one.
Nice talking
Bye.
to you, man. Nice talking with you, everybody. I think I'm going to call it quits too. Have Gene come over and
Okay,
do the
so-
technical work.
Yep. You can shut it down. All right, man. Have a good day.
You too. Gene? Hon?
Yes?
Could you come and turn off the...
Is it 5 o'clock?
It is already, believe it or not. That was fast, wasn't it?
I'm gonna shut you off.
That was incredible. That seems to fly by.
Slip over. Unlock. Did you say goodbye to everybody? Because you're still
Yeah, I
live.
did. Yeah, I did.
You did.
Bye, folks.